Hello and welcome to GameSec. This time around we randomly chose two different series to take a look at.
That's right, Joe. We're going to take a look at the Donkey Kong Country series and the Valis series.
Yeah, but let's only take a look at the Donkey Kong Country games and not all of Donkey Kong, because otherwise we're going to be here all night.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got enough to cover. So,
Yeah.
With that, let's get started with Donkey Kong Country. Oh, the fond memories I have of Donkey Kong Country. Silicon graphics was a hot thing for Nintendo back in the mid-90s, and I was all for it at the time. Once I got this game and played it, I was in pure Silicon graphics heaven. I didn't care that the graphics weren't as sharp as the arcade like in Killer Instinct. It was Silicon graphics right on my SNES.
I thought the style was kind of neat at first, but it wasn't something that ever really blew me away. It was just digitized sprites, and I'd already had my share of digitized stuff years before on the Sega CD. The fad in digitized graphics like this resulting from this game lasted a couple of years, and that left me feeling quite ill. Nintendo even tried to say that these graphics were so good that 32-bit systems weren't even needed. Idiots.
That's my Nintendo you're talking about, you jerk. The game is really fun no matter what you think of the graphics. You play as Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong. You can switch between the two characters all throughout the game's stages. Each character needs to head bounce to kill enemies, but some enemies are tougher and only Donkey Kong can kill them because of his size. Donkey Kong also has a ground slap move that can uncover hidden items. There are also helper animals in the game that the Kongs can ride to help make killing enemies a lot easier. My favorite is On Guard the Swordfish, which makes water levels more fun as he zips through the water a lot faster than you can swim.
I agree, the gameplay was quite engaging and enjoyable. It definitely had that Nintendo appeal, even though they handed it off to Rare to develop for them.
The stages were all very colorful and full of detail with great sound effects and music. I really like the soundtrack to this game, even enough to listen to it outside of the game. Each stage also has a ton of stuff to collect, which all result in an extra life if you collect enough, like 100 bananas or spell the word Kong. Each stage also has a bonus stage for even more chances to collect. I love it, and you should too. Next up is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest.
Conquest, get it? Conquest, ha ha ha.
At first, when I saw that Donkey Kong was no longer in this game, I was very upset. What's even worse is that they replaced him with an ugly girl monkey named Dixie. Ugh.
Oh come on Dave, I bet you secretly think she's hot with her luscious ponytail. I saw your assortment of custom pillowcases when I was snooping around your house.
Those weren't mine. What are you talking about? Being that the loyal Nintendo fan that I am, I bought it anyways. It actually turned out alright, as Dixie has some cool features as a character. She can whip her hair around and slowly glide down, keeping you in the air longer. This makes jumps from platforms super easy and fun. Also added to this game is the ability to throw your character. The developers did good in adding this, as it was a new way to hide coins and bananas in bonus stages. Just throwing your other character into a pit might result in a bonus stage. All of the old animal helpers are here and a bunch more, which makes the game much deeper.
This game was given to me for Christmas the year it came out, and I don't even recall asking for it. To be honest, I felt Donkey Kong Country had worn out its welcome by the time it came, so I just couldn't get too much into it. The lack of Donkey Kong made it even less appealing. They should have made it so that you were trying to rescue the girl monkey, not Kong himself.
Yeah, anyway, the music again is outstanding in this game, and I really enjoy a lot of the tracks on their own merit. All in all, I believe this is my favorite of the SNES Donkey Kong Country games. Last up on the SNES is Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Say that 5 times. To put it plainly, this game is just more the same that you had with the first 2 games. This time around, Diddy Kong has left and he is replaced by a fat baby Kong. He's really very unattractive as a character.
Hey, our fans say the same thing about us.
No, they don't. Do they? Dixie Kong is still here and she hasn't changed. She has one very annoying aspect about her control though. Like in all previous games, you hold in the Y button to run. If you push the Y button from a stop position, she will move a bit to the left or right depending on which way you are facing. This is a problem because at certain platforming points when you are on the edge of a small platform and you hit the Y button, she will move and fall off the platform she is standing on. It's very annoying and my only huge gripe with this game.
How about the fact that Donkey Kong still isn't in here?
Yeah, what the heck? It's got his name on it and he's not even in here. Graphically, it's still the same Silicon graphics, which are pretty good at certain points and not good at all in others. The music isn't as good this time around, with tracks that are less enjoyable than the previous games. Still, it's a fun game, but my least favorite of the 3 SNES games. Alright, on to the Wii with Donkey Kong Country Returns. 14 years had passed from Donkey Kong Country 3 to Donkey Kong Country Returns, and that is a long time to wait for a good franchise to make a sequel.
And Donkey Kong finally made it back into the series about damn time.
That's exactly right, just like the original Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, the way it should be. Retro Studios of Metroid Prime fame handled the development for this game. After the Metroid Prime series and now this game, they are a proven studio that you can depend upon to put out quality content. The game plays almost exactly like the original series, but with just a few add-ons to make it more friendly to novice players. You can get hearts that will allow you to take extra hits. Having Diddy Kong allows you to use his jetpack to float for a short period of time. Also included is the autoplay feature, so you can see how a level is played from a Nintendo Pro. A truly pointless inclusion, but it's there.
Yeah, that seems like something Nintendo would do these days. I'm surprised that after 1 or 2 deaths, the game doesn't just take over for you and proceed to beat the entire thing without your involvement.
Oh, that option's there. Just kidding. But that doesn't mean Retro didn't add content for hardcore gamers. Collecting all the Kong letters from each level of a world will open an expert level that is chock full of difficult platforms and enemies. As before, each level has a ton of things to collect, from bananas, coins, Kong letters to puzzle pieces. The graphics in this game are just gorgeous.
Well, maybe for the Wii. Hell, at least it's not digitized nonsense anymore, but the graphics still give me that low-budget polygon vibe. It'd look much better if it were hand-drawn graphics, as polygon graphics really don't work tremendously well for 2D games like this in my opinion.
Come on, Joe, you need to evolve with the times. These graphics are great! The levels are filled with tons of great colors and lots of animation in the foreground and background. The music is a mix of new melodies and some remixed old tunes, which will bring back great memories of previous games. The control is spot on as you hold the controller sideways like a SNES pad.
But it's not as comfortable as the Super Nintendo pad, as the Wii just has that microscopic D-pad.
Well, you can't have everything, Joe. There is very little waggle control in this game, so you people that hate waggle don't have to worry. All in all, this is my favorite game in the Donkey Kong Country series and a must-have for Wii owners.
Well, I have a Wii and I have no plans to get this.
Not surprising, really. Well, Joe, you know, I get the feeling that you have some sort of resentment for the Donkey Kong Country series. What's up with that?
Well, no. I mean, I really like the first game. I mean, it's awesome. I've got to admit that. But yeah, as a series, Dave, I think it's just kind of overrated as a whole.
Well, that's fine. You know, I mean, it's not for everybody, of course, but I respect your opinion.
Mm-hmm. You should.
Okay. Well.
And anyway, is there any Donkey Kong Country games that we forgot?
Oh, you got that right. There's a lot out there that are on the Game Boy. For example, the original Game Boy has 3 games called Donkey Kong Land that are very similar to Donkey Kong Country, and the Game Boy Color has a port of the original Donkey Kong Country game. And also, the Game Boy Advance has all 3 Donkey Kong countries on it that are ported from
Man, we are going to hear about that.
I know, it's true. And also, the N64 has Donkey Kong 64, which is a follow-up to the Donkey Kong Country series, but you know, if you play it, it really just does not feel like a Donkey Kong Country game, so we're leaving it out of here.
Well, you know me, the less time we spend covering Nintendo properties, the better, so it's okay.
Oh, that's cool. You know, I'm ready to move on to the Valis series.
Yeah, let's take a look at Valis. Valis the Fantastic Soldier first came to the consoles on the Famicom. Unfortunately, it wasn't very fantastic. The star of the game is Yuko, a Japanese schoolgirl. She gets the sword and needs to start killing beasties.
Well, what else is she going to do with that sword?
This game is tough. It gives you very little energy to start out with and only 1 life. You go through a maze of different screens. I can't even get past the first part, and I'm not even sure that I want to. It's a horrible game, but it does have some catchy music. The original Valis came next to the Genesis, this time called the Phantasm Soldier. Obviously, the graphics and sound have been much improved, as has the gameplay.
The control is pretty good. I like the high jump and the slide. It's quite handy in a lot of places.
Yuko is in the Navy and she starts out dressed like a sailor. She spends the first stage slashing beasties and whatnot until she suddenly changes to more appropriate clothes. That's right, now she's in a metal bikini and skirt, which everyone will agree is much more appropriate for the battlefield. Your sword, which is where the Valis name comes from, can have different style of projectiles, each of which can be powered up. This is about 200 times better than the NES version, but it's still a rather mediocre game.
Well, it might be, but I find it better than a lot of the crap out there.
Well, true, I'll give it that. But for one, it moves incredibly slow. And while the music is fantastic in the first stage, it just drones on in levels like the cave stage here.
Oh man, turn it off, please.
The graphics aren't bad at all, but the character animation seems pretty stiff. Overall, it's a fairly mediocre game. The next year, Valis I was ported over to the PC Engine's Super CD-ROM. One of the first things you'll notice is that the animation of the characters is improved and the game moves a bit faster. When Yuko jumps, you can see her underwear.
I knew there was a reason I liked this version so much.
And while the animation is better and the colors are a lot brighter, the controls are a bit more slippery, it seems. The cutscenes are extended and of course now fully voiced, but not that it matters because you won't be able to understand any of it anyway. There are even a few new stages such as this one, which is nowhere in the Genesis version. The game is a bit more difficult as well. It doesn't even refill your life between stages. The music is okay, but not really as good as a CD game should be. In fact, I think I might even like the Genesis rendition of Stage 1's music better than what's found here. However, no matter what platform you play it on, Valis I just really isn't very special at all. And here's the Turbo and Genesis version side by side. Valis II came out on the TurboGrafx CD in 1990, 2 years before Valis I was programmed for the same system. As you can see here, the graphics are much more primitive. What was cool at the time were the anime cutscenes. Ugh, just look at that nasty green border. Let's get rid of that. Ah, much better. Unfortunately, due to the minuscule amount of RAM the CD unit initially had, the cutscenes need to stop and load quite often. Also, the voice acting was only slightly better than ours here at GameSack.
That's Reiko's voice. I wonder if something's happened on Vacanti.
You're the only person in the universe who can do it.
What do you mean? Where are you? Why does the Rogueless army want my Sword of Valis so badly?
In the name of Rogueless and his honor, I shall do battle with you.
It won't do to die here.
What are you talking about? I aspire to have this kind of talent.
Keep wishing for the stars, Dave. The game is insanely easy, especially the bosses, since if you die fighting one, you instantly respawn. The music is pretty good for the most part. I still rather play this game than any version of Valis I, that's for sure.
It is fun. I do miss the slide and the high jump from Valis I, but I got used to it. I also miss having a magic meter.
Valis II came to the Genesis in the form of Syd of Valis. I have no idea what a Syd is. The game was called SD Valis in Japan, and I guess some marketing guy tried to pronounce SD as a single word and got Syd. As you can tell, the game has midget characters with giant heads. It's all the rage over in Japan. They love this stuff. Anyway, this game is just horrible. First of all, everything moves far too fast for its own good. It's very tough to control properly.
Yeah, it is. I always felt that my character was too far to the right of the screen, leaving me less time for reaction.
You can switch between different suits and weapons on a menu screen now, and you couldn't do that in Valis II, but really, who cares? The graphics are very simplified, and they'd be acceptable if the rest of the game were okay, that is, if they could fix all of this flicker. And the sound and music are atrocious. In fact, it's so bad that the programmers put in a secret code to play with the music off. I'd rather play Valis I than this.
Yeah, this game feels like a rushed job. Too bad, because I think it could have been pretty enjoyable.
Here's Valis II and Syd of Valis side by side. Next up, we have Valis III for the Genesis. This one, believe it or not, is actually a pretty good game. You start out by rescuing some Castlevania chick.
You mean Cham? She's super weak and faints at the sight of the first boss and almost loses the Valis sword.
She gets better. After that, you can change between using Yuko or her on the fly. You eventually get some other chick you can use as well, but she kinda sucks. The Castlevania chick is pretty handy and fun to play. You also have a slide move for the first time in the Valis series. Remember, this game was released before Valis I on consoles. Anyway, the gameplay and control all work very well and it's really quite enjoyable. It's a very well designed game, probably the best Valis game ever made perhaps. The graphics are fantastic. The music is great as well. Overall, it's a well balanced game that everyone should own.
The game still moves at a snail's pace, but it's enjoyable. And Joe, why in the hell does Valis have the ugliest enemies ever in a video game?
Valis III was released for the Turbo CD stateside the next year since the Genesis version did so well in the US. This version is generally pretty good too. The controls seem a little bit worse to me and you need to use the run button on the controller to slide. The graphics are pretty good, aside from the horrible first stage which makes it almost impossible to see the power-up icons. All of the parallax scrolling is gone, so overall I'd say the Genesis version has a definite edge in the graphics here.
Yeah, but the music is really good though.
Yeah, there's some great arrangements of the tunes here. But the game itself is just too difficult to remain enjoyable. It's not well balanced or designed. Look at this near impossible jump that's not even halfway into the game. This version also has some of the ugliest box art ever. Just look at this nasty old hag! There are some extra stages here that aren't in the Genesis version, but it's not enough for me to prefer it. I'd much rather play the Genesis version. Here's the Genesis and the Turbo versions side by side. Valis IV was eventually released for the PC Engine CD in Japan, but never brought over for the Turbo, unfortunately. I guess Yuko dies in Valis III or something because she's nowhere in this game. Anyway, you take control of a red-headed chick named Lena as well as her sister. You eventually meet up with some giant monster dude as well. As in Valis III, you can switch between them on the fly. Each has their own unique abilities. Lena can slide, which can now thankfully be done by pressing down plus a jump button. She's also the weakest character. Her sister can double jump, and the monster dude, well, I'm not sure what his advantage is because I sure can't find any.
Well, he's the first playable male character in the entire Valis series. He's probably just in there for equal rights.
You'll be switching between these characters a lot, too often perhaps. The game is still pretty tough, and the stages kind of drone on and on. The graphics are pretty good, and finally a Valis game on the Turbo has some parallax scrolling in it. The music is absolutely nothing special at all. This game is better than Valis I, but not by much. Valis IV came to the US for the Super Nintendo as Super Valis IV. Of course, this version is definitely a Super version, otherwise they wouldn't call it that.
Actually, I kind of enjoyed this game. The control of Lena is really good.
Yeah, but they left out the other two characters from the PC Engine version because the Super Nintendo just wasn't powerful enough to handle them.
How do you know? Did you talk to the developers? At first, the hit detection seems a bit off, but you get used to it. The graphics are a mixed bag. Overall, they're good, and Lena has some good character animation. A few areas leave you wondering what's up with these graphics, like the scrolling clouds in Castle Vanity stage. I guess those are clouds, but they don't really look like it though. The music overall is decent and goes hand in hand with the gameplay and style. It's a good game that can be really tough in spots, with some cheap hits and unforgiving boss characters. If you're a fan of Valis, you should like this game.
Here's Valis IV and Super Valis IV side by side. You know, Dave, overall, I think Valis is kind of mediocre as a series, you know?
Well, really, after I played it, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, granted it's got its problems, but as a series, I enjoyed it.
You would.
Yeah, well, So, I think we forgot that porno Valis game. Are we going to cover that?
Valis X, no, those don't count. There's like 10 of them or something like that.
Oh, well, I was really kind of hoping to see Yuko naked in this one. So.
You know, Dave, I've seen them. It's really not worth your time, trust me. I mean,
Well, all right. I'll take your word for it. And thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
All right, Dave, so what do you want to do for next week's episode?
Dude, I have no idea.
Yeah, neither do I, but yeah.
What the hell is that?
It's Japan, dude. Don't you know your countries?
Well, kinda. But
there's a Genesis logo fading over it.
That's wild.
So what do you think? Another? No,
we've already done Japan.
Yeah, twice. So we've got to put a twist on that.
Something different.